so the problems actually just got more complicated for me. And I was actually thinking about grabbing all my mobile devices as I walked up here. So the iPad, same thing. And now it's like this book. And we have, people are constantly coming to me, I want VPN connection for my iPad in the network. I'm like, I can't manage your iPad. You are not touching resources on this network with that thing. You want to browse a web page? I'm perfectly fine with you connecting to our public wireless. You want to access internal resources? Go sit down at your computer and use your laptop. So those are the same things. Yes, I'll let you have email on your device. We work with use certificate services. We'll work with various providers that we use. We can do those type of things. But if you want to actually internally access our code repository, those type of things, forget it. You're not doing it from a mobile device. And that's this stance I have to take until technology sort of matures to that point to address my issues.
And need we forget that the market cap for the company just was $7 to $9 billion. So he should be your best friend, man. He's going to be
no comment.
That's right. So thank you, Ward. So please. Yep.
Does Zynga allow Facebook internally within your infrastructure?
We have a nice relationship. It's a symbiotic relationship. Yeah, you can access Facebook. I mean, that's one of our development environments. So we have to allow you to access Facebook.
Well, I understand the development environment. I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're encouraged as Zynga to play the games, to actively be. Yeah, you're encouraged to be on Facebook, to promote the games, to do those type of things. I mean, there are days where you'll get an email that says, play the game. We're like, okay.
But there seems to be a persistent theme. I'm beginning to walk away from what I've seen so far, and that's there is a graying occurring between business and personal life. And when you bring up Facebook, when you bring up Farmville, hell, even Zombie Wars, all those things.
Right.
You're talking about.
It's actually, I think I know where you're going. Okay. That line is blurrier the younger your age group. The 25-year-olds that I have working for me or throughout the company, this is their life, whether it's issued by us or whether we take theirs and add it to our network. And so being on Facebook, being on Twitter, being on Foursquare, being on all those different apps is part of it. So I have to evaluate. I'll talk about Foursquare, actually, was an interesting one to me. People checking in at the office. I don't particularly like the location of all of our offices being recorded by an app, right? I mean, you think about it, and I've been to some government facilities where people have checked in, and I'm like, really? It took me a while to find this address, yet you've got people checking in here. So, it's an interesting, that's the dynamic. We have to evaluate whenever these new social apps and those type of things come online. We encourage it. I mean, it was one of those where I looked at it and like, do I staunch the flow of this or do I just accept it? We send out sort of global warnings. Don't tweet this. We recently, I believe it was quoted, we had Mark Zuckerberg visited with us. So it was really nice to see Facebook showing up, but there were details that were like, shh, can't tell, come to silence, keep your mouth shut.
To add though, so your personal life and your business life, they're one. I mean, if you want people working all the time and outputting for you, how many people in here are all of us technologists, all of us security people for the most part? How many of us are walking around with 2 phones? I've been walking around with 2 phones for over a decade, right? And so there's a huge backlash, right? My legal team has their own personal BlackBerries that connected to the corporate BES server. And I looked at them like, that's your personal device. By the way, can you write a waiver for me? So anybody else that wants to do that, I have the right to copy or delete or wipe all the data on that device. They're like, why? So I had to educate them on, well, because that's your hardware. So let's say we term you today. You're going to walk out, that's in your pocket. You're walking out with my data. That's my data. I go, I don't care about the device, but the data on it is more important to me than that $100 after rebate device. So you can keep your device all day long, but I need to wipe it, write me a waiver. And I was sitting at another conference speaking, and I walked up to the attorneys that were speaking, and I walked up afterwards and I'm like, hey, you think my waiver is like actually really legal? And they're like, well, we'll find out the first few lawsuits that happen. And so we're in a nexus of a change in computing where your personal life and your business life become one. The devices that we use become one. The way that we access the internet. I mean, if you look in your pocket today, there's nobody here on their cell phone right now, their phone right now, right? Y'all's phones are connected to the internet. So I'm actually coming and saying the whole paradigm of, as a security leader, I'm not going to trust anymore my endpoint. So Dr. Ed said something really good, like, hey, your PC's been untrustworthy for many, many years. I've always felt that way, right? I whipped this out because I go from conversation to conversation with people, and like I literally have 13 different security controls that you have to put on a PC today to make sure it's secure, right? Do I have to read these, or right? Hardened image, right? Patch, antivirus, anti-spyware, personal firewall, HIPS, stop me if I hit anything wrong yet. Whitelisting, blacklisting of applications, cookie protection, browser hardening, hard drive encryption, config management, admin rights, continuous compliance. It's all baloney. It's all about the change. So if there's anybody, semantics, sorry. But all that technology, we're spending billions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars by each corporation. It's about to change. And so to me, I'm a child of the internet. And so remember your phone I just talked about that's in your all's pockets? They're all connected to the internet right now. It's transacting email right now, unless you've turned off push. But it's transacting email. So why can't it be doing security while it's just sitting there in your pocket? And so I think the whole world is about to change for, you don't need heavy-duty endpoint security technology. You put it into the cloud. It interrogates it on the way. And that's the type of technology that I think is about to explode into this market. Forget about heavy client. I mean, I talked to all of the heavy-duty endpoint security companies over the last year because I told them what my problem is, which is all my peers' problems. There's a room full of 80 CISOs down at the Intercontinental right now talking about this. And I looked at them and I'm like, look, forget about antivirus, anti-spyware, that's all baloney at your endpoint. When it comes through the internet, eventually, check it out there. And I think that's where I'm betting my money. That's where I think we're headed as an industry.
Rob, do you have anything to add before we take the next question? Okay. He's been chomping at the bit. I'm watching him.
Come on, Phil.
Rob's
I'm the first person to say whitelisting and blacklisting for any kind of mobile devices, unfortunately, is useless. And the reason I say this is, if you look at ESPN.com, normal content filtering, ESPN is always a sports site. Playboy is always a porn site. They don't change. Sure, some content may change dynamically, but in the end of the day, ESPN is sports and Playboy is porn. And for whitelisting and blacklisting of apps, that concept sort of works, that Angry Birds is always a game. And Angry Birds is something I'm very fond of. 10 million people have Angry Birds on their iPhone. I have Angry Birds on my iPhone. Now, there's a problem with it. Most people don't realize app stores have no code review. And as such, you're trusting the Angry Birds developers. That maybe there's no angry developer at Angry Birds. Who knows? But are you willing to risk all of your corporate assets on some guy in Sweden or Finland or wherever they are, simply because the CEO is playing Angry Birds? And you can't tell the CEO, no, you can't play Angry Birds. It's a fun, addictive game. So you say, oh, that's an overblown example. That would never happen.